All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to headline BKFC 36, and that goes down on February the 24th. Challenging for the heavyweight championship of the world, top in the marquee, we have Arnold Adams and Alan Belcher knuckling up and towing the line, and good getting to have Alan back on the show. How's everything going, man?
Oh, it's going great, brother. Yeah, I'm loving life right now. Just getting after it, putting the work in, every day, and starting to get closer and closer to greatness.
Yeah, and I was doing my research on you before this interview, and I remember I'd written up an article when you initially got signed with BKFC, and I mean, less than 2 years after signing with the company, you have a chance to cement yourself as the champion. Like, what are your feelings with all of that? It seemed like quite a quick rise to this point. Like, have you kind of felt that, or was there like a certain synergy to it where you're almost not surprised you're kind of in this moment?
Yeah. So with all due respect to the organization and my opponents and everyone, I'm definitely not surprised that I'm fighting for the belt. In your mind, you're always trying to do things faster. So I was hoping to get 3 or 4 fights in my first year and be right there for the title contention. So it just it got strung out over a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. But yeah, we're here now. We're in the right place at the right time, and I'm blessed, brother.
And coming off of such a big year, like I would think there'd be a lot of momentum to be found going, 5-0 across 2 combat sports. Like I would think that this title bid is coming at a good time in that kind of sense, just speaking to the point of momentum leading into a big fight like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I've fought, since I came back with my first bare knuckle fight, that combined with the boxing matches, I got 8 wins in a row since I started. Whenever, I can't remember exactly when that was, back in 2021. Is that when it was? 2021, and the end at the end of the year is when I started, August 2021. I fought Tony Lopez and went to decision, and then 7 more bare knuckle boxing and pro boxing matches, all knockouts after that. So I feel like there's a lot of momentum. I've grown more in the last 2 years than my entire life, my entire career, everything combined. It's just been great.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of finishes through that stretch, especially the last one. That one really seemed to go viral there. It was quite the visual there, the slobber knocker, as it were, to quote a Jim Ross-ism there. Like, it seemed like you had a theory, though, that maybe it was like a bit of water in his mouth on deck. Like, what do you think about all of that? Because when I saw that, I was pretty taken aback. I was like, what the hell? Like, why did all that liquid come out of his mouth?
Yeah. He was either holding some water in his mouth, or the jab that I hit him in the stomach with before that watered his mouth or made him throw up in his mouth or something. I'm not sure. But either way, it made for a very dramatic finish. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for from now on, man. Dramatic finishes. And this Arnold Adams fight is going to be the beginning of a whole era of dramatic finishes. That's my goal. That's my priority that I'm focusing on. Knockout every single time from now on.
Yeah, I mean, a good goal to have, I guess, just like speaking to my previous point, though, about the gloved boxing and bare knuckle. Like, obviously, they're different sports at the end of the day, so not like 100% overlap or crossover, but how much does like doing those gloved boxing bouts concurrently with your bare knuckle journey kind of help in your BKFC pursuit? I would think there'd be some crossover elements.
Yeah, there's some crossover, athletically, and mechanically, and, just the setting of it and whatnot. But the main thing is the mental, it's a good way for me to stay mentally sharp, and I don't have to worry about, messing up my feet or my knees or any of the little small injuries that come with MMA fights. Boxing, I'm able to protect myself, get the knockout or get the win. stay mentally sharp and just keep growing them. Actually, I could attribute a lot of my success and my recent development to the doing the boxing matches in between. I think it's been great for my development.
Yeah, getting those rounds under you and also staying active, I would think it would probably help in, both of those regards. But I mean, very interesting the fact that you're, looking for a finish in this one. Not that you're, not demonstrably capable of that, but just in the sense of Arnold Adams has yet to be finished inside the distance in BKFC. Is there something you see in his game that lends itself to the fact that you can see yourself securing a stoppage, or more just speaking to like the work you're putting in and the abilities you're honing?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a fighter out there, including myself, that I can't see a hole with. It's just a matter of looking for the opportunity and having your footing and your balance right at the right time, and having your eyes on the target and very focused and very mentally in tune, in the right emotional state. So, yeah, I see holes in all fighters out there, no matter what level. Even the best, the Tyson Fury, the Usyk, any of these top guys. Well, I was kind of thinking of other fighters and stuff. But yeah, I mean, when in my mind, I'm thinking of the top boxers. Of course, there's Ngannou too. That's kind of top of my list too. Think of Ngannou along with other of the heavyweight, greats. Those guys. Now John Jones. These guys are. I'm tired of dabbling with greatness and on the ledge of it and on the edge of it and anything that I do in my life. So I've just made a commitment to just go as far as I can and to completely commit myself and be my true self and put 100% into this. So as you and most, fight enthusiasts know, that the sport is very, very mental. Very mental. So I focus a lot on my mental, my mindset. And, I feel like spirituality is just mental on the highest level. That's like super, super mental, super mindset is like the spiritual side of it. So I've really delved in to get everything lined up so that I can astonish myself and inspire other people to try to do something unbelievable, try to do something that even they think that they can't do. So whenever I look at Arnold Adams, I look at him, I look at the top fighters in the world, and I see a hole. If I can just prepare myself and be focused, be in the right mindset, balanced at the right time, there's no reason why I can't knock them out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the work you're putting in and everything, and obviously you like made a huge name for yourself in this reinvention as a bare knuckle heavyweight. Just some interesting stuff you were talking about a bit earlier, though, like talking about how you're almost like tired of almost being on the precipice of achieving greatness, like not verbatim what you said, but that kind of sentiment. Like, do you feel like this juncture in your career is the closest you've been to like that greatness that you've always kind of saw for yourself? Like, are you at that point of being able to actualize into reality those kind of things you've been thinking of?
Yes, 100%. And it doesn't have anything to do with the result, doesn't have anything to do with the belt, doesn't have anything to do with the ranking or where it is in the order of things compared to everyone else. Greatness is a thing, just like success. Success and greatness, those two things that they have the thing that they have in common is that those are feelings, those are experiences that you just know are there. And I've had some great momentums. I've had some emotional highs and emotional lows. But a full commitment where you don't give a fuck anymore. You don't care what people think. You don't care, and you're not even focused or motivated by the chip on your shoulder or the fact that you have to prove people wrong or any of that, which those are the things that really drove me. That chip on my shoulder when I was younger and in my 20s drove me to the top of the UFC and got me right there. And I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't reach that greatness level. I just couldn't quite get there. And it was because I needed to keep growing and keep changing into a different person and not look at the negative things, but look at, the impact that I was going to have on my life and leaving a legacy of health and freedom to my children and inspiring others to do the same thing with their families and to lead men and leading their families. And it's going to be such a highly impactful night, February 24th, whenever I have my hands raised, just like I have it visualized. And I'll beat the very challenging opponent, Arnold Adams. Much respect to him. I think that he's earned this fight. I think this has a lot more publicity and a lot more eyeballs on it than any fight that he's had. And it's definitely and the focus for me is higher than anything I've ever experienced. So I'm right there on the verge of greatness, and this is what I keep reminding myself, is that you're right there. This is what you wanted. This is the point where people slack off. This is the point where you let those negative, those doubts start to slip in, and the greats, the ones who understand what it takes to be great, are the ones that run through that wall whenever they hit it or find their way around it. And that's exactly where I am, and I'm focused, and I just know that I'm going to do it, brother. 100%, my man.
Yeah, it just seems like a real... Yeah, he's excited for the fight, too. He's been talking my ear off about it lately.
Cool.
But no, what I was going to say is, like, there's a real, almost like cinematic kind of synergy to this fight, too, because I was seeing a previous interview you did with John Morgan where you were saying, like, a lot of your great UFC fights and like big show out performances like were in New Orleans. And I also saw that post you had where you were talking about readying to take the heavyweight bare knuckle boxing belt, the same place where John L. Sullivan began his reign almost 150 years ago. So can you speak to that point? Because it really seems like there's almost like a cinematic kind of synergy to the whole thing.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, there's synchronicities in everything that we, and throughout life, whenever you really look for them, coincidences. And it's cool whenever, and we all have kind of our own story that comes together. And it's really neat how life works. 150 years ago, there wasn't any really, high-paid athletes. There wasn't any prize fighters. And in fact, prize fighting, being in boxing, being a professional paid prize fighting pugilist was the first career that you could really get into and make money being an athlete, and you had to duke it out. You had to earn your place in this world with your hands. And of course your heart and your mind is a big part of that too. And John L. Sullivan did that right down here, man, in my backyard, Gulfport, Mississippi. And if you look at it, another interesting thing about the history of fighting is New York to California. There's these cities. Just think of New York and think of, the cities in California and the more populated areas and the places where the leaders at the time were living. And they're always wanting to do business with sports or boxing or whatever, but there's always some type of loophole or some type of like way to get around rules or something down south. And you got Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. There's been a lot of great boxing and MMA fights, early UFCs, even kickboxing down here, because it wasn't, at the time, they weren't able to do it anywhere else. And when bare knuckle boxing started, it was the same thing. They started in Wyoming and Mississippi. It was the only place they could do it. Now it's starting to spread. And I think it's just cool that I realized it one day that that's why they didn't do the bare knuckle, the big boxing matches. I'm like, well, these cities aren't near as big as, you know, a Chicago or New York or something at the time. They just couldn't do it up there. There was just so much more regulations and less freedom up north, kind of like there is today a little bit, you know, which is why we're doing it down here, you know. So BKFC coming to my backyard because this is where it started, and this is where my fans are too. It's easy to get my whole Gulf Coast over to New Orleans, and there are a lot of people coming out for it too. So it just means a lot to me, man. It really does. And my kids are getting to watch me do this, and kids of the future. I feel like I just feel really connected to this. I think that like you said, man, this is just a big, a cool cinematic finale to this little run right here. And to me, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. I'm not in an illusion of my age or where I am in my career at all. I'm just working with reality here, and I'm still very athletically prime. And how long will that last? Now that I'm training consistently every day. You know, I'm also trying to elongate my career and my life, and working on health in a way that I never have before. You know, so I feel like I'm probably, you know, I'm not the best in the world at longevity, but I'm learning, and I'm trying to be. So I feel like that's going to make my career last longer. I feel like the 8 years that I didn't fight and I didn't punish my body, and I let my brain heal, that's going to help me go, you know. But just looking at 23 and 24, after the last year and a half, 2 years of kind of prepping for it, 23 and 24 are going to be huge years. So there's really no limit to where I could go just in 23 and 24. So anything after this, man, is just icing on the cake. It really is. And I'm just going to have to set a new goal and set bigger goals. So I know the importance of looking exactly where I need to be focusing, and I'm focusing on Arnold Adams right now and how to beat him in every single area where he could potentially be dangerous, where things might get interesting, where it might get a little sketchy. I'm just playing every single scenario out in my mind. I'm not missing a thing. I refuse to be beat, and I'm definitely not going to beat myself.
Yeah, for sure. And I know this statement isn't necessarily counter to what you just said, like focusing on Arnold Adams, but just kind of an observation. Like, I do find it interesting, like how closely the Lorenzo Hunt versus Mike Richmond light heavyweight title unification fight is in proximity to this one, just because I've seen Hunt indicate he'd also like to capture that heavyweight title, also the cruiserweight champion as well currently. I mean, it would seem like even beyond that too, like, I mean, you outlined some great heavyweight options that already exist there, but I mean, that could even potentially be an option as well. I only say Hunt because I think Richmond isn't necessarily looking to stay at light heavyweight long term, but I mean, that could play out pretty well. I mean, you fight the number 3 pound for pound ranked guy and then maybe end up fighting the number 2 pound for pound ranked guy later on in the year.
Yeah, you're talking about Hunt later in the year?
Yeah, I just find it curious that his fight is in such close proximity to this fight, just in the context of him mentioning he'd also want the heavyweight belt someday.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's definitely a possibility for sure. Business wise, I feel like there's definitely bigger fight. I think a fight with Rothwell is probably going to be, even though Rothwell isn't a huge name, and even where I am right now, me and Rothwell together isn't the biggest splash ever in the fight game. But I think that makes more sense for the fight business, for me to fight Rothwell next, possibly, and maybe he needs another win. I'm not sure. I'm ready to fight whoever they put in front of me. But I don't want to waste any time. I want to get the most out of this. I want to challenge myself at the right time, and I want to make the biggest impact, and of course make the most money too, which I feel like is part of making a big impact. And the more high-paid fighters there are, the more legitimacy is in the sport, and the more that it's going to help future fighters that I feel like I'm paving the way for, that I've been doing my whole career, my whole life, is going after something that's a unique niche that I know there's a lot of other guys that want to go into it, but the bigger the payday is, and the bigger the real overall where you are on the ladder of success in the world is going to get higher and higher. And I think it has to do with how much you get paid, and how much people respect you. So I think that's a big part of it. But yeah, I'm not opposed to fighting the other champions for the belt. I'm not opposed to even going to light heavyweight in the future. Any lower than that, I would probably opt out of. I don't want to cut weight, but I don't feel like light heavyweight's a weight cut for me. I think that's just a matter of just tightening up my diet for a week or two, and then I'm right there. I could make it. Not a hard thing. When I was almost as big as I am now, when I was in UFC, cutting 185. There's that. I'm more interested in the fights, the crossover fights. Bringing in the boxing champions and UFC champions and things like that to fight in bare knuckle, or doing cross promotions where Feldman and BKFC and myself partner up and do gloved boxing, or a bare knuckle MMA or whatever. I'm really down for anything, man, and I would love to make history and just mix it up with interesting combinations, like say a bare knuckle match, or a 4-ounce MMA glove match with Ngannou or Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk, or something like that. So I'm going for home runs, man, and we'll see. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but I feel like my belief is stronger than any other thought that someone can have about me.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's a lot of exciting potential options for you. I mean, certainly one of the more intriguing fighters on the roster currently, at least I think that's the case. But yeah, no, it's been great talking to you, man. I want to be mindful of your schedule, though. I understand you probably have a much tighter media schedule this time out. So just putting the ball in your court, if there's maybe anything you might want to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here.
No, man. Yeah, just watch me and Arnold Adams February 24th. It's going to be exciting one way or another, whether it lasts 10 seconds or the full 7 rounds. It's going to be exciting. So tune in.
Yeah, very excited to check out BKFC 36 there, and I appreciate you making time ahead of such a big fight, with this being a heavyweight title bid and all. So thanks for the time, man. Looking forward to checking out the fight when it goes down, but until then, you have a good rest of your day, Alan.
All right. Thank you, brother. I'll talk to you later.